hope you had a great Thursday night. Bronny James. Would you have ever thought I would have said it and meant it? Hope you had a Bronny James sort of night. I can't say that we told you so, but we did tell you to look out for a big night for Bronny. Well, because they had a turn to him yesterday.
Well, not only that, I said it during yesterday's show, and I'm certainly not doing the "I told you so," but I did say with all those players out, even if the Lakers only put up, I said if they only put up minimal points, someone had to score them. And would you believe Bronny, 17 points, couple threes, made a sweet pass that made like the highlight reel. So. You know what?
No, but dude, he was hitting floaters, hitting threes, like you said.
I may have been wrong about Bronny.
Full court passes. He had 17 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds. The athleticism, though, is noticeable. And again, the touch, he seems like he has a nice touch, a little floater, like I said. He just looked nice. He looked good. So can he grow from there? Absolutely. He's a rookie. And even guys like Stephen A. Smith, I may have been wrong. I may have been wrong about Bronny. You know, you have to give him his props. If we're going to dump on the guy and talk about nepotism and he doesn't belong there and this and that, hey, he's a rookie. He played a good game. Maybe he just needs more opportunity.
But you're changing your tune after one game?
Dude, he's a good. No, he was running past Giannis last night.
Thank you.
Giannis had to foul him a few times. What do you mean one game that he actually had to play? He hasn't had that much playing time.
But when there's nothing to lose and there's no, like you said, it's like nobody was expecting the Lakers to win that game.
No.
So when you go in with that mentality, is it really what he's capable? Like, I'm not trying to take away from Bronny. I don't dislike the kid. But on one game,
it's
but
something
on the
to build off.
On the flip side, though, what if he had gone 1 for 18?
Yeah, it's something to build off of.
He would have got buried more.
No matter what he does, he's going to be talked about. Unfortunately for him, but the Lakers lost.
I mean, Motzi, if he was on the Clippers, he put up 17 at least every night, right?
Probably.
Okay. Look, they lost. That was low. It's something to build off of, and you got to figure the timing's great because just yesterday we were talking about how he said he sees the criticism. He's aware of it, and it motivates him. So he sort of put it where his mouth was, and he showed it last night. It shows that the pressure's not going to get to him. He looked good.
Why can't you acknowledge that he had an incredible game, single game, without issuing a formal apology for what you've said before that?
Because Stephen A. is ass.
I'm sorry.
Right, it's like just it was one game, and then it's like acknowledge it, and then once it becomes a trend or a regular thing, then maybe you can issue a
broken clock is right twice a day.
Exactly.
I think we all know why.
Pause,
he's trying to get it back in LeBron's good graces.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt. Hey, you know what? It poses a question that might be fun to start the show with. There's so many rando stories today in the world of sports that we're going to have fun with, but nepotism, a word that's thrown around so much in sports and entertainment and music.
Nepo babies.
Nepo babies. It really is like
Nepo babies.
An eye-rolling buzzword.
Nepotism sounds like a word that means something else.
I'll give you another example. When COVINO was going through his divorce, say it took 7 minutes for me to bring up your divorce today.
Yeah, man. Wow. 7 minutes.
I remember I sat down with COVINO at his divorce attorney's office because I'm like a great friend like that. I'm the best guy. And his divorce attorney said, "Steve, you're such a mensch." And I'm like, well, she talking smack to you?
Yeah,
oh, wait,
a mensch is smack.
A mensch is a good thing.
I thought she wanted to throw hands.
Like a mensch doesn't sound like a good word.
Mensch means you're a swell fella.
Yeah.
–
Nepotism.
It's Yiddish.
Sounds like you need
sounds like
something out of a drug commercial. Like you need Valtrex for it.
Yeah,
mensch.
nepotism. Doesn't sound like what it is. But what about it,
Sky
Rich?
Rizzy for your nepotism.
So LeBron, goes above and beyond to try to make the path easier for Bronny. We would all do anything for our kids. That's something we all forget, right?
By the way, the interesting part of that story is, it's so obvious, but it does happen in every other industry. Why is it so odd when it happens in sports?
So it poses the question of what industries are you okay with nepotism and what industries are you not? Like if John's Plumbing has been run by good old John Johnson for 30 years, and he hands it over to his son, and now his son's like, I own a plumbing company.
That's not nepotism. That's a family business. Because it's like if his son was with him all the time learning the job, I don't think that's nepotism. I think that's just handing it off to your descendants.
Nepotism would be like if you gave your son like a high-profile job that like other
that he has no experience in.
Really,
at
other
all.
qualified plumbers were going after, but your son, who's a novice, got that job.
That's like when Billy Madison was going to be the heir of the Madison Hotel fortune.
That's
There you go.
nepotism.
Billy passed the third grade.
Oh, I'm going to make a huge statement.
Well, you could argue about Bronny's, playing days all through school and almost dying on the court at USC.
That's true.
It's not like he just walked onto a court, one day and was like, I want to play.
Yeah, we all know LeBron did this for himself and not his kid, right?
Yeah, but let's all be real. He would have been here.
It's a beautiful thing.
Anyway,
It is.
just maybe
But
not
he did it for
as soon.
himself.
Who, me?
He's just there a little sooner than he would have been.
Yeah. I mean, so when it comes to maybe the plumbing example, I was saying I'm quick to the punch on that. But let's say
He's quick to the point, no fake.
if you're
to the plum.
if you're Dr. Buss, and your kids are the people that run the Lakers, that's not nepotism in your mind in some capacity?
No, I think definitely if you're handing off like $1 billion enterprise to your children, like it's kind of like a Succession.
Are you watching Running Point on
like that the waves? Yeah,
on Netflix? I mean,
no, I know the premise of it, but yeah, like didn't Jeannie Buss, she had to kind of like wrestle away control from her brothers who like were just incompetent at running things,
which is
and
the
she's
plot
doing
line,
a better job than them for sure.
which is the plot line
right
of
Running Point.
Running
Yeah.
Point. My point is that
Dicky's point.
we see nepotism and favoritism all the time. I just wonder why we have such a I don't think I can say that on Fox. Hold on. Why do we have such a problema with it?
Because nepotism at its core is giving a job that should go to a much more skilled individual that job because of their name alone. And yes, getting an opportunity where an opportunity wouldn't exist just strictly based on your family.
Yeah, but there's more to it than just that, because guess what? You know who gets the
skilled
loudest
job.
cheers when they're in the game? You know who the fans are most excited about when they're in the game? You know who could probably put more asses in the seats than other rookies that you don't know? Bronny James. There's still value in him.
And I always have an issue when people really harp on nepo babies and nepotism, because I think that will open the door. But once you're through that door, if you don't deliver on your own, you will fall flat and it'll be embarrassing.
Bam.
Yes. And the reality is,
Bam.
there's an artist right now that's big on the pop scene. Your kids may listen to her. I was saying, if you want to cue up some Gracie Abrams, she's a hot young artist who opens for Taylor Swift. She's got a couple pop songs that are top 10. It didn't dawn on me. I didn't realize it was J.J. Abrams' daughter. But you know what? If she stunk,
As
would
my
the
mom
would the
says,
songs
Rich,
be big?
It all comes out in the wash. You could get that advantage in life, but you're right. You have to deliver.
I mean, we just talked about Running Point. Kate Hudson. Doesn't she come from a Hollywood family?
Yeah, Goldie Hawn's her mother.
I mean,
Yeah.
if Kate Hudson stunk, guess what? We'd
No,
see her in a couple
yeah.
things, and then we'd be like, it fades away.
That label will go away if you are good. If you are up to snuff, it'll disappear.
Well, isn't that the argument with Bronny? Like he wasn't.
Well, but again, we need to
coming
see
in.
him do it like over an entire season, not just one.
But he
Yeah.
was given an opportunity that if he was just Bronny Johnson coming out of college, he wouldn't even got a second look by anybody.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
tell
but
me,
he's
a
only-
first look
he's
by anybody.
Only 20. Dude.
I
He
know,
would have been
but,
there
like,
eventually.
He was.
Eventually, but not now.
He has been playing well in the G League, and our argument at the start of the season was too bad it wasn't for a different G League where he's not in his dad's shadows.
Like Bronny James should be playing in the NCAA tournament,
Exactly.
not be
for like
playing.
Duquesne, yeah,
Yeah, like
he
not-
he didn't even go through a full
But you're
cycle
not
of
hearing
college.
Rich's point then. There's so many other examples in life where people just have advantages because of who their parents are.
Yes.
That's
This
just
advantage
life.
was always going to be there. I just think a lot of us feel like it was extremely rushed.
Yeah.
Especially with the year that he had at USC, which was not even a complete year. So this just was rushed. It was always going to happen.
But
We're
guess
about
what?
to see Bryce. We're
But
about to
guess
see all
what?
three of them.
But that's
he
why
was
I s-
running past Giannis last night.
But that's
so
why I said-
he was looking good.
Because
He
Giannis was really trying.
Hey,
There
he
was
looked
never
good.
a question as to that game.
That's
Come
why I
on.
said
Sounds
LeBron.
like someone's sipping on the haterade today.
It's not a hater. It's being realistic.
Monty ain't hating; she just stating.
LeBron did it for LeBron. He didn't do it for Bronny.
Well-
he wanted to have that historical moment of
I agree
his
with
father
that.
playing with his son.
Yeah.
My royal
That's why it
family
was,
tree.
That's why it was rushed.
Yeah, but what's wrong with that? Why
There's
do you
nothing
think that?
wrong with that, but to deny that it, like Bonzi said, it was rushed and it was inappropriate timing. It was too
was rushed.
soon, and that it was a huge moment of nepotism.
But he can't control what family he was born into, so you guys are making a good point. It's up to him right now. No, I know, but look at our business for an example. Howard Stern's dad was in radio.
Yeah.
All right? He helped Howard get into radio.
There's a big
At a
story.
small local level, right?
From
Yeah,
private
but
parts.
Howard had to be the man, though.
Yeah,
after that.
exactly.
He
I'm
didn't change
saying
his
it,
voice. Remember, he went from like to.
Hold on. Take a time out for a second. Think about this in every industry. There's a big story going on right now in the broadcasting world. And it's interesting because a guy that we admire and have always said nice things about, Mad Dog Russo. Mad Dog Russo has his own channel on Sirius XM, Mad Dog Radio, Mike and the Mad Dog.
Good afternoon, everybody.
If you grew up on the East Coast, I mean, there was no one bigger. In fact, Mike and the Mad Dog paved the way for Colin and Dan and Stephen A. and all these people. There would be none of that.
30 for 30 about him.
Now, Mad Dog Russo, who's made millions and millions and billions and billions, one of the best in the sports radio game, was quick to criticize LeBron and Bronny like so many people. Meanwhile, in the news yesterday, he got the old, whoa. Hold on, Mad Dog, because Mad Dog Russo's kid is a broadcaster in South Florida, and Mad Dog went on a rant about how none of the New York Mets at spring training would give my son a chance to, like,
He acknowledged, I sound like LeBron here, but you couldn't give me anybody on the Mets. Not one Met gave his son time for an interview. And he lost it. He flipped out. So how do you feel about that? My thoughts on that were just because it's Mad Dog Russo doesn't mean his son should get an interview. But
yeah.
not one Met could have stepped up. That was my thought.
That-
Like, not one Met. Nobody wanted to interview him.
There's, again, layers, different industries, like you said. I would say I made the distinction. If it's a small business, you're just passing it down.
I would say in the medical field is where I feel like nepotism should never be. You know, just because your dad ran that office, it doesn't mean that you should be checking my scrotum. You know? I would say that
you,
would
still,
be.
you still have to go through medical school
Yeah.
to get that
word was
position.
said on Fox
But it
Sports
doesn't mean you're
Radio.
going to be a great doctor.
It doesn't,
You know?
yeah.
I don't want to. Just because your dad ran that practice, I don't buy into that.
Hey, Steve Covino, drop your drawers.
Yeah.
Turn your head and cough.
The weird part is his son
Basketball,
wasn't even
yo,
a doctor.
Guys, put it in perspective. Honestly, it's an honor to make it this far, right? You're in that elite status and level. It's still a game. People need to relax.
Can I
Basketball.
We all know-
And you're either going to step up or you're not. And if he doesn't, he's not going to last long.
Can I just say that my parents always told me growing up, use your connections and use what the people you know help have them help you out. It's a privilege, but you should help yourself that way.
Could I say that when Aunt Becky, Lori Loughlin, and some of those Hollywood elites got in trouble for trying to get their kids into colleges, I believe rightfully so they got punished. But I can't tell you I don't understand. Because if you're a parent.
But they paid.
No, but I'm saying as
That was a different
but
story.
hold on, but I'm saying as a parent, you realize you would do anything for your kid. Danny G, you would do anything for Koa.
Yeah.
And so you could understand it. I mean,
I helped him start his new podcast
There is-
last week.
yeah.
It's just funny. There is legacy in academia. There is like where if you've gone to like a prestigious university and you're the child of that person, you do get a look because of that.
No doubt. I mean, how many times does
And high donors.
How many donors are
well,
like,
donors.
your kid's an F up, but dad and grandpa both went to Yale, so all of a sudden this guy who stinks.
Oh, by the way, since we're talking sports too and other examples that don't fly with you, you don't think just because of the name on the back of the jersey, there's extra players in baseball and football that
Yeah,
get the
legacy.
extra look,
Yep.
but they get the extra look and acknowledgement because of who they are. Freaking Mike Piazza got in just because of his connection with his dad in Lasorda, and you got to step up.
Yeah,
That's really what it comes down to. It doesn't matter if it gives you an advantage. If you don't deliver, this is a game of winning. You're out.
Rich is only here because of his uncle Bozo, the clown. Did you know that?
Bozo the Clown, my uncle.
Bozo the
Yeah.
clown. That's how he got his foot
Got
in
you
the
into
door.
the entertainment
His
business.
uncle
Yeah.
Chili Davis.
Yeah. People don't realize Spot's real dad, Mr. Belvedere. He was.
You didn't know that? Lynn
We've all,
Belvedere.
hey, we've
How
all
many
had
guys- how
we've
many
all had
players
some
get a
people.
look?
Yeah, I was going to say, Covino, we've all had people help us in our lives, maybe in our careers, and we've all like what Sam was saying. Not just his parents. A lot of our parents told us college, number one thing, make really good connections. choose the right people to hang out with and do well with your professors and all that. And people lean on that throughout their life.
Dale Berra, Yogi's kid, Pete Rose's kid, Tony Gwynn's kid, all decent players, but probably wouldn't have gotten that look if it wasn't for that famous name behind that jersey or that nod, that acknowledgement. And it didn't last for them. But again, it proves what we're saying. It may have got them there, but they didn't stay there.
I just think bringing it back to Bronny, the whole thing with him that we've had this conversation ad nauseum from the start of him being drafted,
he had a big game last night.
He didn't have the stats coming into the league.
So what?
But I'm just saying that's the whole thing here. That was the whole argument here. And
it's about skill set at that point, and I think we could all agree on one thing: he wasn't ready to come into the NBA, but maybe at some point. But it was rushed a little bit because of LeBron.
Yes,
you could argue he's not ready now.
Oh, I was going to say he was coming off where I was going to say injury. You can't call that an injury, but an incident where it almost ended his life.
Right, but if he was ready, he would have been playing before last night. He played last night because the Lakers rested everyone and their mom.
Yeah, and you know what? He got an opportunity, and he looked good. If he keeps doing it here and there, then good for him.
I could have put up at least 10 points last night.
Yeah, but you're acting like that's
no.
Ready?
I don't
Hold
know
on.
about that.
Hey, Rich and Covino go
I could run
down,
up and down
with
the
an
court.
illness. You guys ready to step up and
Yep.
do a killer show?
Yep.
Monty, you are, because you're doing it all the time. Spot,
All
you
the
think all of a
time?
sudden you'd be slaying it on the air? He stepped up and he played a big game. You got to give him credit where it's due. If you're going to be so quick to dump on the guy
Nobody's
and say, "Oh, you rushed him,"
dumping.
I sounds a little negative to me.
I just don't even think it's a story.
Oh no, I'm not mad.
I
at you,
think it's
Monty.
too soon
I'm
to
just
pull
saying,
I think it's too soon to pull a complete 180
Yes.
on your outlook on him. Maybe
Yep.
maybe like a 45. You could put like a 45 or like a 90.
I want to see how you play against the Bucks.
But
Get
our
out of my
show,
face.
but our show wasn't negative about him like the other shows were. Spotty.
Never.
Spot said he could score 10 points. I think he could just drink 10 pints in the stands.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you.
I could hit a couple threes, I think.
The point is,
3
that's
hot
just
dogs.
life.
Oh,
there it is.
Got him.
Your problem is like how life works, and we're seeing it in the NBA. But in reality, it's just the game, guys. And the game is a great equalizer. If you don't belong there, the game will let you know.
Yeah, it's a good point. You see that with music. You see it with acting. You see it with all arenas where, quote, nepotism could happen.
Yep.
You gotta hold your own, or else, like Covino said, there have been players that got a look. Maybe they got him into the big show, but then they go away quick.
They go away quickly.